All right. Hey guys, welcome to book study. We are, hey Landon, doing chapter 6 tonight, and my new level 1, Danielle, is going to lead. I'm super proud of her. She is being super bold and stepping out of her comfort zone. And when I first had asked her to do this, she was like, "Oh, I don't know." And then I actually just said, "Hey, you should do a book study." And then days and days passed, and she was like, "It's just still on my heart. Like, I feel like God's saying, do this book study." And I'm like, "Yes." And so leading up to this, she's been kind of nervous. And today I checked up on her, and it was a busy day for me. Usually I would already have been like, "How are you doing? How are you feeling?" Because I'm that type of person. Before calls, I get really, really nervous. I still do to this day. And I messaged her today. I was like, "How you feeling? How are things? Like, are you gonna do, how how you feel about this?" And she was like, "You know what? I'm actually doing good. My nerves are just not there." And I'm like, "That's God, another reassurance saying, do this call." So I'm super proud of her for getting out of her comfort zone and leading this book study. And what I love about this book study is also, it has to do with the book of Ruth and not quitting on yourself. And I think that is the number one thing I think Danielle, just 3 weeks into Plexus, she's doing. She's not quitting on herself. She could have very easily said, "Nah, I'm new. I don't want to do this." And, she has this nudge to say, "I got to do this. I want to do this. I'm going to follow through with this. And I'm not just going to say I'm going to do it and then not do it." So definitely living up to the quota of this book, I feel like. So I am going to pass it over to her in just a second. But if any of you guys at any time want to chip in, feel free. It's not like we're going to follow this to the T. She's just going to kind of go over some things that stood out to her in the book, and we're going to go with it. So Danielle, I will pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready. I'm kind of a little nervous. It's starting
You're
to get
ready. You'll do great.
But okay, so we are going over chapter 6 tonight, which is take cover. And so we're on habit number 3, which is she stays open to the movement of God. And so I want to open up with Ruth 2:12, and it says, "May the Lord reward your work and your wages be full from the Lord, the God of Israel. Under those wings you have come to seek refuge." So what are these wings? So I have a few verses that I'm going to read to you guys. And if you guys want to write them down and then go back and look at them, you can. So Psalms 91:4, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will love you, or will be your shield and rampart." And then Psalm 17:8, "Keep me as the apple of your eye, hide me in the shadow of your wings." Psalms 36:7, "How priceless is your unfailing love, O God. People take refuge in the shadow of your wings." Psalms 57:1, "Have mercy on me, O God, according to unfailing love. According to your great compassion, blot out my transgressions." Psalm 63:7, "Because you are my help, I sing in the shadow of your wings." And then the last one, Psalm 61:4, "I long to dwell in your tent forever and take refuge in the shelter of your wings." So after reading these verses, what is your understanding of wings? Anybody can chip in.
Anyone want to chip in? I feel like for me, Kendra, yeah, you just said protection. I definitely feel like when he talks about too, like the spelling out of cover, when he was like C and then space out over, like C over, I was like, for me, it was like a light bulb. For me, sometimes when it comes to the Bible, since I'm new at learning and reading it and all the things, I'm like, okay, dumb it down for me. Seriously, like just dumb it down so I can understand it a little bit. And that for me kind of dumbed it down. I was like, okay, he's protecting, literally seeing over everything we do. When we worry, he's seeing over it. When we are struggling, he's seeing over it. Even when we're doing great and having victories, he's seeing over it and just literally covering us in his wings. Protection to a T, I think. Kind of what I took
Yes.
away.
So on page 107, it talks about the atonement cover. And it gave us a nice visual about kind of what that looks like. And it's pretty much saying we can experience the presence of God anywhere where we go. We also don't need a list of rules and regulations to follow for God to love us, which is awesome. God is just so good. He really is. And then going over on page 109, when they talk about cover and you break it up, it's see over. So seeing over us or whatever we're going through. And I talk really fast when I get nervous, so I apologize. We might be cutting it really short tonight. But on page 110, it says, when we decide to come under the covering of God, there are 3 steps we take with our lives. So number 1, we admit how much we try to control things. I am guilty of that. I want to be in control of everything. And then number 2, we tell God we're open to what he wants to do in and through us. And number 3, we stay in place under the covering of God, even when it's not making sense to us. So which of these steps do you feel you need to take most? For me, I did step number 2. And why I think this is, I need to learn to trust God more and not try to control everything. So what do you guys, what step do you guys feel like?
I'll go. I actually did a reel about Christmas today because that's like me. So I always think it's funny when, like, my husband is so good about bringing this to my attention. He's always like, you think you're like, it's so funny that you think, he doesn't word it like this, he words it a little nicer, but basically, like, it's hilarious you think you're in control, because why do you even try if God's like, if something's not supposed to happen, it's not going to happen. It's not like you trying to be in control is going to change God's mind of what he wants and doesn't want for you, you know? And I always have this moment of like, yeah, you're so funny. It's like comical how, like, sometimes too, when I look at situations, it's like I keep pushing so hard one way, and it's like, no matter how hard I try, God is greater and is going, if it's not supposed to happen, it's not going to happen, you know? So it's just always so funny. Even like, I always think about it whenever it was like, we wanted to have a kid. It's so funny because it's like, I remember I was teaching and I'm like, okay, we, plan here, then it can be like a summer baby. And I'm like, how freaking comical that I thought I could be like, oh, we're going to have a kid, and then immediately get pregnant. And then it turned out I like got pregnant, had a miscarriage, and then, had to get on fertility meds and all this stuff. And now I'm like, when I hear people say that, like, oh yeah, I'm going to plan this, I don't even say anything because I'm like, you'll just figure it on your own. But it's just so funny how we truly think we could be in control of our lives that much. So that's immediately what I thought about whenever you said that. So
yeah, I'm a huge fan. So when this, we were very thankful for this baby, but it definitely was not planned at the time that I wanted it. So, we're just not in control of anything, and very thankful for everything though. But, yeah, does anybody else have anything else?
For those of you who don't know, Danielle's having her second baby. She's pregnant right now with her second little boy, which is so cute. She has a little girl now. She's been kind of sick today, so prayers that she feels better. But yeah, to kind of tag on like what Rachel said too, I wrote down number 1, like step 1 is something like I definitely am a control freak as well too. Like I definitely am always like, okay, I've got to have all of this, aligned. And it's just like, you think about, like she said, the kid thing. I really always wanted a girl. Like I always, when I thought about when I wanted, like kid wise, I was like, I want a girl, I want a girl, I want a girl. And then look what God's blessed me with, 2 boys. And now I can't imagine my life without the 2 boys. And I always love this, not saying, but, usually when God has his hand in something, it's going to turn out even better than you thought it would. And so, just, making sure, you give it all to him, you release that, and just know that he is in control, and whatever he has planned for you is most likely probably going to happen, whether it's he brings you through the valley to get there, or he just, overwhelms you with joy to get there, or the greatness to get there. But it's his way. And in the end, it'll all happen the way he wants it to be. So letting go of that control is something I'm working on.
Yeah. Can y'all hear me? I don't usually talk with these things in my ears.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. I'm gonna keep it in now because I took it out and I got one out. Okay. It's like hunting season over here where I live, so my boys are awake and they have school tomorrow, but we're here for it, or one of them does. No, I was going to share something real quick, and then I wasn't going to, and then Kendra just said, like, have to remember the goal is God's glory, not mine. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to share this with y'all. But we actually had a revival this week at my church, and Tuesday night he talked out of the book of Ruth, and like, I'm not sure, like, if you've ever experienced this or not, but whenever you maybe read scripture or you hear a song or whatever, you hear it a certain way and it speaks to you, kind of like a time such as this. And then you read scripture in a different season of your life and or a different time, and it's like completely a new perspective or a new way God's speaking to you. But I loved it because I was like, oh my gosh, we're reading this book right now. And it was just so cool. And I mean, my eyes were open to also like a different way to like think about my life and our life as not women's women, or if you're a mom or different things, and that God will never leave us, and we're not nothing to him. And anyway, all that to say, even like when we feel like we're nothing, but there has been, and this is really honestly for the glory of God. And I hope that, I always pray that he knows my heart, but there has been someone on my heart, and I've been doing some things, like just some prayer with the Lord for just my own personal convictions of things where he wants me to be used. And anyway, y'all, this is just such a radical God thing, crazy thing. And I have to share this with y'all because it kind of feels like it's just a good time. But this girl, I knew her whenever we were young kids, and she really is just alone in the world. She has a little girl. And anyway, I had invited her to revival, and God spoke to me, and I was just listening to that. And it was hard for me to like be like, hey, I haven't talked to you in a really long time, but you want to come to church? And it just has blessed me so much, y'all. And the crazy thing is that when we talk about, yeah, we want to be in control, we think it's our way, or we know that can be in our personal life, that can be in, home life or work life or whatever, your goals, whatever that looks like. And she had sent me a message. I told her, hey, we'll pick you up at 6:10. We were going to pick up her and her daughter, me and my boys. She doesn't have a car right now. And so she messaged me back, and what she said, y'all, was just, you don't know what people are going through when you're not going through it yourself. And God's used her in my life, and I pray that I can be used for his glory and hers. But she said something to me, and all morning I was like, I'm going to send her a song, because like I love music and I want to listen to music all the time, and I'm going to send her a song. And I was thinking, what song can I send? Oh, it'll be my favorite group or Elevation, where it'll be that. I was like, what did I send her? She sent me a message, y'all, and the second I opened it, I put my phone down and I turned up my radio in my car, and a song came on from a singer on my worship radio, my worship station I've never heard of. And I listen to a lot of worship. I listen to country too, and a little hip hop. Not like Kelsey Webb's hip hop. She's a hip hopper. But I do listen to other music too. But y'all, I never heard of this person, never heard of this song. And I think it was called Where You Are. And the singer was Olivia Lane. And y'all, it was her story. It was a story of redemption, and a story of how God will meet you in a church pew. He will meet you at your knees. He will meet you in a cell block. He will meet you in your brokenness. He will meet you in your joy, wherever you are. But we just have to let go of the control of when we want these things to happen and what we want our life to look like or whatever. And what this brought to me, talking about being in control, I'm telling this long story and I'm so sorry. I'm like, Robin, you're not, Danielle.
Oh, you're
But
good.
what this told me, y'all, I was like, oh, no, I'm not going to send her that song, because I'm going to send her a different one, like Maverick City Music Radio. Like that, there's going to be a good one in them that I can send her, and it's going to lift her up. And God kept saying, no, you're not. If you do that, that's for you. It's not for me. And that's what you want to do, not what I'm telling you to do. And I mean, it was just, I sent it. I was like, okay, God, I got to send this. And I just sent it to her. And, she received it so well. And I pray that it lifted her up. But my point in all that, y'all, was that was like a moment for me where God's taught me, you think you know what's best for you and the people around you or your life or whatever. And I get you're trying to sprinkle joy into people's life, but that joy comes from me first. And here's what I want you to do, not what you want to do. And so it just made me think of a lot of things about just letting go of control. And then I talked to Rachel a while ago about control of your house. I mean, it just felt like, to me, it was just like, we do have to try, because like you said, I mean, God knows what tomorrow holds, what next week holds, what next year holds. I mean, he knows. And so we just have to trust him and go with it. But anyway, I just wanted to share that real quick with y'all, because it was a moment of like, I got this, Lindsay. So let me be the leader in your life, and let me guide you, and let me tell you what we're going to do. So anyway.
Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
So on page 111, it talks about see over prayers. And I don't know about you guys, but oh my gosh, those prayers were, I just kept rereading them, because I mean, I just needed to hear those words. And so it says, see over prayers help us release the results we want and push us to rely on God. So think of some things in your life that you are praying about, and how would you align those prayers with the see over God? And then it talks about, is there a scripture verse that you can encourage yourself in that area? And one of the biggest things for me and my family, our finances, we took a big step this year, and I took a step back from teaching. And so that kind of, put a wrench in our finances and stuff. But I just told myself, I said, I don't have a daycare provider, and I don't really trust a lot of people to watch my child. I know that's probably horrible to say, but I want to be that person to be there for my baby. And I just said, I just prayed to God that he would still provide for us, and he has been providing for us. So I'm very thankful for that. But so what are some of your guys' see over prayers?
I mean, I personally haven't, like when I read through this, I was thinking like, I need to sit down and like make this like a true task, because there's like the blank at the back of the chapter to do it. But like, even just reading over, like my see over prayers aren't going to be word for word like what's in the book. But I mean, I could write one over my marriage. I could write one about, oh Lord, I could write like 50 with my kids and how I parent, like seriously. I mean, I could write like a whole book of see over prayers with parenting right now. I feel like, over finances, same thing, business, those just, I mean, lots of things. So, I mean, I don't have one off the top of my head, but it definitely got my wheels going, where I was like, I need a continuous reminder to lean on him and to ask him to see over, literally like cover everything, from when my eyes wake up to when I go to sleep, and everything in between, and everybody I encounter. So
I agree. Anybody else? Okay, so on page 121, it says, God meets us wherever we are in the process to his promise. So Kelsey, if you wouldn't mind reading Ruth 120 for me.
Okay, sorry, I had to make sure I had my Bible open to the right spot. It says, but she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me.
Okay, so how would you describe Naomi in this verse? She kind of has like her hands closed off to God, right? Like she's clenched up, and she sounds
yeah,
she's mad. And
yeah, that's kind of towards I think like the beginning when all this bad stuff's happening, and she's just like, I'm done.
Right.
Like nothing, yeah, like I just have nothing else to do, to give, like woe is me, but in a much bigger context.
Right. And then on Ruth 2:20, Kelsey, if you wouldn't mind reading that one.
2:20. All right, right here. Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, "Blessed be he of the Lord who has not forsaken his kindness to the living and the dead." And Naomi said to her, "This man is a relation of ours, one of our close relatives."
And now she's starting to kind of opening her hands up to God. She's opening up more. So how does our posture affect how God can move in our lives? So I put, if you're closed off to God, he has more trouble getting into your life. If you are open to God, it's easier for him to move the obstacles in your life.
Yeah. Sorry.
Mhm.
I was just going to say, and even here where it says maybe you're not ready to completely open your hands, but can you start with something small? I think just starting somewhere, whether it's like Lindsay talked about, the girl taking that step and going with her to church. And sometimes it takes that friend to give us that nudge, or surrounding us with people that are going to make us better. And I think that's really important, in something that we all have to benefit with having this community here and being able to do this book study and book studies to come, and just have that community, whether it's business or friendships. And I think you just have to start somewhere, and starting small is that first step in, starting something that could lead to opening your hands bigger to what God has planned.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to add in there, I think it's also important for us to remember that just because we have decided, like, okay, my hands are open, like I'm ready to be used, or, receive whatever you have going, like your plans, that doesn't mean that we're going to never face troubles or obstacles. And so I think it's easy for us to be like, well, God, I told, like, my hands are open, figuratively speaking, but like, I'm here, I'm trusting you. Why are you continuing to give, because I just think of so many people that like aren't closed off to him, but yet still face so many trials. But I think the part that comes at the end of that, which is challenging to get through, and I think Kendra probably said something like this earlier in the chat, is like, your hands are open to be used, not necessarily to like find the better way, but to be used by him, or to grow with him, if that makes sense. I don't know, because you said something about like the obstacles, and I was like, well, we still gonna face some obstacles, but
Definitely.
I think we will hopefully have like a better trust on the backside, and understanding, and
And
that
sometimes
kind of
I
thing.
feel like, to piggyback on Yuli, sometimes I feel like when you do open yourself and things are good, like, it's sometimes when the devil creeps in the most, it's you, and then you tend to go through the more obstacles. Like, just when it's like, take for example, like when we decided to move, like we leaped and then wrote, I haven't shared a lot of it, but it's like, oh, here's a roadblock. Here's something that's happening in our marriage. Oh, here's a parenting struggle. Like, all these things have added up. Here I'm homesick. And those are just mine, and they're little things compared to other people's struggles. But definitely, I feel like when you do take that leap, there's even more obstacles. And I think Jesus, makes you go through it to grow through it too.
Right.
I was gonna hop in there too, exactly what you're saying, Kelsey. Like, I just think about my in-laws, for example, pastors of a church, like she's battled cancer for over 30 years. And, you look at people and you're like, man, like, why are they going through all that stuff? Like, aren't they God's servants? Like, but it's exactly what you're saying. Like, the more you open yourself up to the works of God, the more the devil's going to come into your life. Like, life happens no matter what. But you get to make a difference more. Like, I see the people that my father-in-law impacts and the lives that he's changed, like they get to be in a cancer room, or like a clinic every week while she gets chemo, and they get to witness to people every single time. It's like, just consider the situations God's putting you in, and are you looking at it as an opportunity to make a difference in someone's lives, or are you like, man, like, we didn't want to be here, like, here again, start trying to serve you, Lord, and all this stuff's happening. So I think what we're talking about is like our posture, like how are we approaching this situation? And it's all about us, how we approach it, whether or not God's going to use us, because we can definitely, like, I think about my mother-in-law, she could sit there and pout in that chair the whole time, but she gets to sit there and like talk to younger women who are young moms going through breast cancer and say like, hey, I've been there too, so I think it's about our approach, but that's it. That's my 2 cents.
Yes. So how can we practice that presence? And I put, whenever we run into something that is stressful or makes us worried, just give it to God. I sometimes forget to just sit down and pray and give my worries to God and just let him know how I feel, even though I know how he knows how I feel, but I need to talk about it. So see, our prayers contain 2 things: my problem and God's promise. So our problem and God's promises. And I know it's getting time to head over to the Facebook event, but another Bible verse that really stood out to me was Exodus 33:14. My presence will go with you and I will give you rest. So that's what I have for tonight.
Thank you, Danielle. You
Appreciate
did,
it.
you did so
Yeah, I appreciate you guys
well.
being, you guys are so, you just are awesome. I love you guys. I love being a part of this group. You guys are so welcoming and supportive. So I really appreciate that.
We're so glad to have you here, and there's going to be many more of these that you're going to lead, and I can't wait to watch you bloom because you're doing amazing.
I will love it. Tonight went really good, I feel like. I hope.
One thing I was just gonna leave everyone with is it says like it leaves you a little spot in the book too to write a see over prayer. So tonight, if you have a little time before you go to bed, like write down a see over prayer and then just continue to practice that. Maybe you don't do it every day, but tonight, if you have some time, do it. We've talked about it. Write down your problem and then see what God can do to see over it and cover you in his presence. So thank you, Danielle. Thank you everyone for coming, and we will see y'all at the event in 1 minute.